Hello, does it work? Yeah. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining this session. First of all, kudos to the DUT team to choose this venue. Like, this is for the non-Brussels people. This is the venue of stand-up comedy and concerts. So very good. I'm not a rock star or stand-up comedian myself. I'm Marco Grippa. So I'm a policy and project manager at ERRIN. So ERRIN is the European Region Research and Innovation Network. We're based in Brussels, and we work in a variety of projects. One of those projects is the second hat I'm wearing today, which is CapaCITIES. So CapaCITIES is an European project linked to the city mission, like the buzzword that we hear a lot today since the morning. And in CapaCITIES, we have the ambition to bridge and build a national platform in 27 EU countries, also going beyond the EU, including like Turkey and other extra EU countries. And the idea is to help from the national level, the cities within their territories to advance and scale up climate neutrality in cities. One more word about CapaCITIES. So CapaCITIES now has 27 national platforms. Some of them are quite advanced because they were building on a previous project that was running for 2 years with 15 countries. And then thanks to the support from the European Commission, we are extending the scope with 27 countries. And the real work that we are doing with cities, so really at the local level, is capacity building, peer learning, but also addressing what are the investment needs, the regional, which is the one that ERRIN is leading, what it could be integrated in the national platforms in different countries and how to communicate in the multi-level governance. And of course, also include, as we hear also from DGRTD officer today, how to include those cities that are currently not advancing climate neutrality. And CapaCITIES is also very linked with Net Zero City, as we said. So Net Zero City is working with 112 cities in Europe for climate neutrality. And this is where we see the bridge of CapaCITIES with DUT and Net Zero City. So I'll start the panel introducing our panelists. So we are having, just one second. All right, so we will hear from Ferrer Sáez. She's the head of innovation and ICT at Valencia Innovation Capital. Is the Valencia Municipal Innovation Agency. She's working at the intersection of building, infrastructure, and digital technologies. She's a civil engineer by training and Harvard alumna in designing studies. She has built her professional careers across the EU and US, studying and working in Paris, Boston, Amsterdam, and London before bringing the international perspective to Valencia. Having joined the Valencia Innovation Hub as R&D officer, Mar has contributed across a range of EU projects and programs, including Valencia Green Capital in 2024, Sitcom.ai, a test and experimentation facilities under the Digital Europe program, and of course the EU Climate Neutral and Smart Cities mission, including, and we will hear in a second, the development of Valencia Urban Sandbox. So thanks, Mar, for joining us. And our second panelist is João Dinis. He's the Climate Action Director at Cascais Ambiente. João is an advocate for sustainable cities, dedicated to creating urban environments that prioritize happiness, comfort, and ecological health. His projects are rooted in co-design, bringing together stakeholders and citizens to ensure their shared vision as active co-owners of their communities. By fostering sustainability literacy and supporting vulnerable communities, João work promotes inclusive development while respecting the city environmental limits. With a wealth of experience in natural-based solutions, sustainable infrastructure, policy framework, and innovative mobility system, he has positively impacted thousands of citizens through improved living conditions, restored ecosystem, and reduced utility costs. João believes a sustainable city can spark global challenge with empowered local communities, driving systemic transformation from the ground up, providing that small grassroots action can reshape the future. So the municipality has also participated to what we heard also this morning from the Net Zero City Twinning Learning Program, that is again bridging the mission and the mission-minded city. And João stated that it's an inspiring opportunity to promote collaboration between ambitious communities willing to embrace the challenge of achieving climate neutrality by 2030. So thanks, João, for being here. I will now give the floor to Mar first, that are gonna deep dive into what Valencia has developed with the 3 projects. So Mar, floor is yours.
So hello again, like we saw each other this morning, and yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I just will correct, I'm not the head of innovation, I'm head of infrastructure and ICT, because otherwise I get some people anyhow. So I will be presenting a little bit the context, Valencia and the innovation platform, Valencia Innovation Capital, then the ENACT project, which is the DUT project, and then the urban sandbox. So Valencia. I don't know if you've been in Valencia. Have you been, some of you? Oh, that's great. So, you know, it's in Spain, in the east part of Spain. It's like 800,000 inhabitants, and it has this big green lung, which is the Turia River, right? So I think I love this picture because it says it's at the heart of, you know, we have the City of Arts and Sciences, and we have also sustainability regain, like with the Turia River. Anyhow, in 2024, we were European Green Capital, and a lot of the success was because of the climate mission. We were like, we are in the climate mission and very prone to focus on that. So, and we have this, so urban challenges, as we were saying this morning, are so, we have flooding, we have, you know, aging populations, we have so many things, and how you solve this problem. So we decided like we were going to build this platform, this Valencia Innovation Capital, which is this platform to basically solve cities' challenges through innovation and connecting this open innovation platform, connecting technology and entrepreneurship and citizens to the city municipality. And then we have this dual stake where digital transformation goes in the city through effectively businesses and everything, and then out like we go and do GovTech challenges. So we expose the city challenges and for the ecosystem to solve these problems. So we take like really public-private collaboration really seriously in that sense. Like we want to engage with all the agents. So the DUT project we have is like this is an ENACT project, is a 15-minute city project. And basically it's an urban living lab for cities, a consortium of cities in Norway, Poland, Oxford, and Valencia. And then basically it was analyzing the city center, like the old city center with the problems we've got, right? So it's an old city center, so there's not many space for logistics, there's touristification, there's obviously local businesses that are struggling, some of them, and there was a living lab where doing surveys, studies of the cadastral spaces and everything, and we came up with the logistics studies, last mile logistics studies. And with the UPV, the University Polytechnic in Valencia, And we came up that instead of 44 vacant spaces like for last mile logistics, we would actually only need to use 6. So that was like a research based optimization study, right, with genetic algorithms and everything. And it happened that that actually the next step for this would be to pilot this in the city, right? To try out this in the city in real conditions. So we in Valencia, we've got this tool, which is the Urban Sandbox, which is like we put in place like all these urban resources. We call it urban resources, where we actually let innovators come and try out things. So basically, we put public spaces like public infrastructure and events, even events, to the innovators. So I will show this video. It's just like, and then you get a sense. So basically, it's like you can try out robots in cleaning beaches. You can try out apps in the markets. So the markets are also an urban resource. You can try out also in the orchard, like irrigation things in the orchard. So it's putting basically the spaces of the city at the at the disposal of the innovators. So I think that's really a project that is key for us, and also it makes this cultural change I was talking about before, because all the departments from the municipality need to be, in place and need to be engaged in this process of you get, because it's an open call, like, and is any technology could apply. So so you get the biggest stage in Europe, really, for innovating, and then you need to be able to, as a city administration, facilitate that to happen. So, well, that's Valencia there. So so we are looking basically for projects to experiment there and innovators. So I wanted to end on that note. I give you floor to you.
Thanks a lot, Mar. I think it's a great example on everything that we discussed already, actually. There was mobility, there was cleaning, there was energy, there was innovation, digital. So it's a great example that this would be easily replicable in other cities in EU. Now, we won't go very far in terms of geography, so we'll move to a Portuguese example from Cascais. So, João, floor is yours.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I'll just stand up. This way I can see what's going on there. So welcome to Cascais, which is a wonderful place to live. And it's stuck between a mountain range, which is protected landscape, but also the Atlantic Ocean. So if you don't have work to do, you can have some waves, you can go some mountain biking, horse riding, some drinks, nice restaurants, whatever you want, you have it in Cascais. So, of course, we rely heavily on our natural heritage. And of course, climate change is now a visible impact. We have officially lost our first beach. And if you'd like to know how do you lose a beach, you just don't lose sand, right? You can see from that image over there, the sand just doesn't disappear. It comes and goes. It's a dynamic. But it went time away that the concessionaire of the beach, the person who takes care of the lifeguard and infrastructure says, I don't want this anymore. Nobody comes here anyway. And so the National Agency for Environment removed the classification as a beach. So we lost a beach. That's how you lose a beach. Now I know. Okay, so how do we work? Well, basically, like Mar said, we do have our CCAP. And of course, we work heavily on both adaptation and mitigation. And we're doing quite innovative work. And I would have to say most of the work is either nature-based solutions or mobility or renewable energy sources when it comes to mitigation. But of course, we do this in a very co-creative way with lots of inclusion-driven processes. So I'm talking about pilot projects here, and I will share 3 projects. And of course, the first one is our POSEIDON project, sponsored here by DUT. Thank you very much. Well, the goal is, of course, to mainstream positive energy districts. a wonderful concept that doesn't quite work very well in Portuguese, translated literally. So we do have to be creative there as well. But basically, what we're trying to do is climate change is a systemic challenge. So the solution is also systemic. And we have to gather a bit of everything everywhere. And we have to combine solutions, which is not very easy for those who work in cities. You understand what it's like to work with different departments. Then, of course, we need to work with original replicability, which means that whatever we do, you must also be able to do. And it needs to replicate on your daily activities and in your citizens and so on. So this is something that, when addressed, has actually to be considered a priority. And finally, we do need to learn how to pass financial and regulatory challenges. So regulatory challenges here is actually the biggest challenge. Like my friends in Cascais say, money is not the problem. Money is the solution. So, so regulatory challenges are actually the bit of it. So we're working on digital, we're working on governance, management, models, regulation, all together. And exactly what does it provide us? Well, it provides us with a framework that we use for our projects, namely the Cascais Smart Pole, as a pioneering project. Well, this is our first decarbonization living lab. It impacts 6,000 people plus 5,000 students. It's a residential area by the beach. And what we've done is, first of all, we've reached out with the starting question, which is, how can you reduce your ecological footprint? And then we provide incentives for you to reduce that. So we worked with energy communities, which is unfortunately in Portugal quite innovative because of our regulatory framework, like I mentioned before. We worked with the circular economy principle. We all know what circular economy, but we can make it within the neighborhood. For example, your kitchen oil is collected by us, transformed to biodiesel, used by the collection trucks in your neighborhood. So it's fully closed within your neighborhood. Why do we have green spaces that not livable green spaces? For example, a roundabout or a pavement sidewalk, which is not livable, but they're green and they're pretty, but we use ornamental flowers that consume lots of water. We don't want that. So we ask the people to help us to reforest or repopulate the green structure with native species that save a lot of water. And then on a daily basis, how can we reduce our consumption patterns to reduce our ecological patterns? And of course, mobility, where we developed the mobility as a service, a solution, which is based on gamification. So every time you use the bus, we know that you use the bus, not kind of like a 1984 way, but we know you use the bus. So here's some incentives for you that you can then later on redeem. And the bus, by the way, is moved by hydrogen, powered by green energy. So lots of stuff going on here. So because I don't have much time, then I'll move to the other one, which is we generate. This one is powered by Horizon Europe project. And we're doing the similar thing. Basically, we're using now an established community, urban community, where we reach out for them and say, let's help you and save money on utilities, right? So again, we installed an energy community, reached out to vulnerable families, and we started to talk to them about energy efficiency. How can they reduce their, again, energy footprint, decarbonize themselves, and how can they help each other and us to develop a more inclusive city? So of course, again, we retested some of the solutions that I mentioned from POSEIDON. We implemented it on a pioneering basis with 30 families. Everything is going smooth. They're saving more than 50% of their energy. Of course, they do have thresholds that they can use up to 100 kilowatts per month. And we're promoting climate literacy. So this goes on within the household, but also within the schools. And it's wonderful to see children applying the science of these projects in their curriculum. So it's pretty cool. So why is this approach important? Well, like I said, it's a systemic challenge, so we need to bring everyone on board. Citizen science and climate literacy actually very important for us because it provides us with valuable data that impacts you directly. So there's, I would say, a direct relationship between science and the quality of life of people. And this is something very important for these organizations that are represented here today, because we need to have, a tangible impact with our research. Then we are empowering people we are not just sharing the risk within ourselves, but also with stakeholders, service providers, technology providers, and so on. We are bridging that gap. So if you have some new innovative solution, if it's actually good, then we create incentives as a test bed, a sandbox that you can implement. And if it's good, it helps us to save energy, improve our quality of life and mobility. Well, let's do it then. And this is what we do. We promote on the principles of the European Green Deal. We promote incentives. It's different from punishing those who are not as efficient at these new solutions. It's very different. So write that down. Of course, this is what I meant with the positive feedback to generate change. When we talk to people, we engage them in the co-decision process from the early start. This is where you reduce the risk of adoption. And of course, then you can test bed everything you want because we knock at your door. You know what can go wrong. We explain you why. There's a transparency relationship between us. And then turns out that we're always on the same base and working together on it. So that's it. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. This is something also complementary. So we heard about framework of energy community, for instance. This is particularly key for any project that are working on energy transition. You mentioned SecUp as well. Maybe one statement that this is, of course, everybody knows if you're based in Brussels that this is currently negotiated the MFF, the Multi-Financial Framework, and the European Competitiveness Fund, where there would be a chunk of budget allocated to clean transition, where cities can tap in with the climate city contract, if it's a mission city or SecUp, in order to fund. And this is roughly, to give some number, 23 billion euro for the next seven years, starting from 2028. To put it in perspective, so we're currently experiencing the phase of energy crisis, given what is happening in Middle East. And from where it started until end of April, we spent in extra money for fossil fuel, exactly 23 billion. So this is to put in perspective how much is it. So it sounds a lot, but it's not, if you see all the EU flows. So now back to the city after this very high level statement. So I would like to open the floor for question later on, actually. So first we start with the two questions on the national level. So as we mentioned, that CapaCITIES is working with national platform. Two platforms that are quite active are Cities 2030 from Spain and Cidades pelo Clima, if I pronounce correctly, in Portugal. So I would like to ask, starting from Mar, maybe, what is your takeaway of the collaboration with the national platform, and how will you see the evolution of that?
Yes. So, well, thank you for the question. I think the national platforms are key in the success of the climate mission, really. First of all, to be able to work with peer cities working together toward common goal and with the same framework and with the same kind of ambitions, I think is key for many reasons. I think it gives support, also a political backing. It gives a way of effectively sharing good practices. Like in Spain, we were working at the beginning with the cities, like the other seven cities, and we effectively reached the label, the first cities we reached the label were the Spanish one. Why? Because we were working together, really. And then the collaboration has been so good that we applied for a call together and then for a project called Urban New. And then we have an established governance where we got every Monday a meeting, and then other cities that were not able to be in the mission were also interested and were gathered as a second phase as well. So I think those national platforms are really key in the success of the mission, really. Working together is an opportunity really to learn so many things and to collaborate for other things. As I was saying, another call we got for Urban New, but also I don't know if you know, like the Climate City Control has these parts where some of them are quite difficult. Like you've got the commitments, then you've got the plan, and then you've got the financial part. So we were working also with within the city platform with external consultants that help us translate all this financing into taxonomy and more translatable things for making bankable projects. And this was a collective effort. Like I wouldn't see one city only be able to do this and achieve such things. We were working also with the European Investment Bank now for a project related to mobility, to the EV chargers. And yeah, it has created like a way of working together that I think is key.
Thank you. Well, the same. Yeah. No, but and I would probably just add the dimension of different sizes or scales in the cities. So Portugal has, I would say 60 or 70% of our cities have less than 20,000 inhabitants. So how can they drive a change if they don't have enough resources or impact in the overall scale? So these types of networks do help us to connect with smaller sized cities, and we start to learn how creative they can actually be, and how can they easily adapt the solutions that we've been talking here. So it's extremely important, once again, for validation. Our solutions can be replicable across any geographical context in Europe, and I would probably say most of the world. And of course, to any given size and available resources. In our case, also in Portugal, and you mentioned this interestingly, which is when we are trying to talk about sustainable communities, we're talking about either new services, products, way of living, for example, green construction, energy, mobility, etc. Lots of cities are not able, or it's not justifiable to have a project that develops a solution just for themselves. There's no scale in it. So if there's no scale, why should anyone, develop this project or invest in innovation just for this city or that one or so on? So when we're talking about these networks, we can actually develop procurement process that engage multiple cities. And now we have a good scale to start this. And once again, I would say, just to foment the debate, like maybe a little spark, it is extremely important that we monetize this. If we're not monetizing, we're just having conversations, we're just having research, and then we're leaving out most of the stakeholders that create jobs, that create investment, and help us as families to pay our everyday bills. So let's perhaps consider transforming this into a sustainable development. Yeah.
Thanks a lot to both of you. Indeed, very, very relevant. The investment angle is something we hear also this morning, how we can do it, how we can leverage different funding scheme that is not always the public one, and that can create an impact in the longer term. So now, very ambitious question to Mar. We saw a lot of projects happening in Valencia. So I would like to ask, what is the turning point in those projects that will unlock the further leverage to moving from the pilot that is happening into the project, successful project, into a more planned and organized regular city policy?
Yeah, well, that's a difficult question and a difficult problem, right? How to scale solutions. And I think I've mentioned a few things. So first of all, like take into account, because it's not only, the municipality that has to do work. Like it's the ecosystem and the whole city that has to do work. And we know that also from the city climate contract, right? That like not only the municipality has ownership on the assets that need to, you know, to scale the solution, right? So is many things about businesses and everything. And I think the platform we've built, in the sense, the innovation platform, open innovation platform, engaging the ecosystem, that's one part of the solution. Then the second thing is like, you need to test things in real conditions, like, and that's why we build the sandbox, right? So we need to go from the lab to the city and to validate things in the city. So to validate things in the real scenario. So that's, I think, is a second takeaway. And then obviously it has to come from a problem inside. If you want the problem to be scaled, you need ownership of that problem. So that needs to be, is like this dual, this dual element we were saying, in and out. We need to be a problem. Like a startup can have an idea, right, or whatever, but then it needs to be that solving that problem that the municipality has. And that's how then, if it's aligned strategically with the city, you know, objectives, then you can find the money to scale up, right? So, so I think those takeaways, to take into account all the agents, to go from the project, the limited project, to a test in the city, and to be aligned with this global strategy of the city, and this and yeah, now we've got a lot of projects in emergencies, and we've got, you know, a GovTech project and everything related to emergencies, and we would love, obviously, to expand that project like all over, and there will be funding for that, because, you know, it's a priority. So yeah, things like that.
Thanks a lot, Mar. And next question is for João. So we saw what is happening in the cities and within the project. Then you reach this project that you successfully been awarded. Then this project is arriving to the city hall. So what is happening within the city hall, within the city administration, and what needs to change to bring this project to a successful within the project, and then replication and scale up in the future?
Well, that's actually quite a big challenge for us, I assume for many other cities as well. So first of all, on city management, I think we need to understand that innovation is sometimes not very friendly. Innovation by itself is a disruptive process, you know, and if you're working on a local government or any governmental agency and so on, you have schematics of work. You have to work this specific way. These are the procedures. You can't go on because we have legal obligations. And if we fail, then we can be held responsible. So when it comes to city sustainability, energy efficiency, climate resilience, we're bringing a whole new, very organic and flexible dimension to this equation, which is obviously the challenge. And it's quite innovative to tackle things considering this. So what do we need to do when it comes to this? Like in our case, of course, first thing we do is I need to sell this to the mayor. How do I sell this project? What are you going to, for example, a few of those projects, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to do a living lab for carbon neutrality. All right. Okay, next. Yeah, that could be something like that if the mayor doesn't have time, if I can't explain very well. Or I can say something, we are going to help families to reduce their monthly expenses on utilities while bringing them closer to the town hall in terms of co-city development, increasing their quality of life, and reducing our own expenses on maintenance while reaching out more people with our public mobility services and better housing policies. Wow, that's sold, right? and then why them? Why not the whole city? Well, that's okay. So we do need to start. We do need to start small. We need to test out these solutions. It's reduced risk development that we do here, and of course, it's easier for us then to implement and to fade out, you know, little problems until we create a mandatory or, let's say, general solution for everyone. This is the right approach. So, of course, the other challenge is European projects, but also national, don't get me wrong, but also national. I would say the majority of the work is admin. And if you're implementing or investing too much time in admin, it means that it's not a very efficient process. So, for example, right now, we are managing 8 Horizon Europe projects. And I would say of these 8, 3 of them, well, 2.5, will have tangible impacts on innovation and the impacts that I mentioned to the quality of life of citizens. So what about the others? Well, the others are probably not just for us, but they cost us resources. Yeah, but you'll get paid for that. No, not really, because we are not free to hire whoever we want. Once the project is over, it's over. And instead of having this timeline of implementation, now we just had a little bump on the road where we developed a solution or a model that helps someone else outside of our organization. It doesn't really help our people, right? Our citizens who we work for. And this is obviously very difficult to explain to the decision makers. And this is what we really need to change, is to make sure that the investment policies of the EU transfer directly from the financing entity directly to the citizen who will benefit from it in its everyday life, whether it's tomorrow or in a few years, right? Long-term vision, of course. But I think we need to have this assessment very well explained and detailed.
Thanks a lot. I'm pretty sure that you can sell properly to your mayor.
I try to.
So we're doing very well on time. So we can open the floor for some question. We can take 1 or 2. So please raise your hand if you want to ask any question.
Hello, I'm Josephine from Bible Cities and Rice in Sweden. A question for Valencia. I recently worked in a city with digital transformation, and I'm so impressed by your story. I was wondering, to enable this innovation program, do you work with data spaces or with interoperability standards, open data? How do you share data to enable this?
Yes, so that's a very good question, and that's so we are in a few projects. Actually, I was coordinating the part in Valencia of the Sitcom AI project, which is a European project, a Digital Europe project related to AI in cities and communities, and that's obviously part of the data space we were mentioning, and so we've got a pretty good smart city office department where we are trying, and we've got obviously the open data platform as well, and we are trying to create this space, right, the data space, and this is, I mean, the data spaces at the moment are key to effectively do all these projects, right? So we've got a strategy, but it's still, I mean, it's still difficult to manage all these data, because we are like producing data with the European projects as well, and where do you locate those data? We are trying to get that in the smart city platform as well. So I think it's the future of the management of data is the future of innovation, as you were saying, and we are working very hard on it. And we are lucky that we have a strong smart city office where everything like is kind of handled in that way, but still we need to work on it. And with AI, still is still getting even more interesting in that sense. Because like we are working with a project also with data visualization and the arts. I was like last week we were with this project, and I was working with that project, and I had to prepare a a leaflet explaining all the data sources and all the data platforms we have actually. So it's still quite difficult to put all the data together and to have like a proper data space and everything. But again, there's this also data spaces for tourism in Spain, like we are working on as well. So I agree with you. Data is key, and we are making the most of it, like trying to work, yeah, as much as we can.
So, hello, my name is João Hultén, also from Sweden, the innovation program Shift Sweden. So I have a question here. The title here is about implementation and scaling, but when you run your sandboxes or your urban living labs, there will also be projects that are failures. You shouldn't implement them. You shouldn't scale them because they are, you know, you learn something from them perhaps, but how do you sort of utilize also the failures in your sandboxes, and have you sort of a systemic way of utilizing those lessons learned from failed projects?
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a tough question because obviously a city never wants to say that this project fails, right? So and politically also, you know, you don't want to. But obviously, I mean, it's as you said, like every project is not going to be a success, but it can be successful in the way you learn things. So. So we do have a kind of an evaluation process of projects, and we are building also an evaluation strategy also for the sandbox and everything. So yeah, we should do like we were in this urban this, how you call it, like this urban event where there's the fuck up sessions. Maybe we should be more publicly doing diffusion of the lessons learned. You're right. Maybe we haven't still create a strategy for that, but I think we are doing a lot of evaluation, and we are doing the sandbox has a biannual reporting, and we also, because the sandbox obviously is for a city, right? You cannot, is regulatory in the sense you can go far in some of the municipal regulation, but obviously not regional or not national, right? So we are learning from that as well, like what are the wantings of the innovators that they want to overcome this regulatory problem or this difficulty, right? So in those biannual reports, we are getting to see all these requests from innovators that what is stopping innovation, right? So and we are gathering all this information. But you're right. I think cities should be more proactive in doing these fuck up sessions. So we will learn from that. Thank you.
Yeah, for us, I would say the first start is whatever project we develop needs to be at least trying to find a solution for an issue or a challenge that we're facing. So any solution is better than the current situation. I would say this approach actually facilitates quite a lot. The second one is you need an exit strategy. So whatever you develop, what if goes wrong? So you need to develop different pathways. What if it's a great success and people love it? Well, even great. Now we need to reinvest our own money, which could be a failure, by the way. If we have funding for a sandbox and we test it out, people like it so much, and now we need to get resources to change this into a city level project that maintains itself and it's not financially sustainable. It had happened before. Or what if it fails? Well, like I said, the sandbox approach that we were talking here, it's very good to reduce the risk of failure extremely. When you engage directly with your customer, your client, or the person or the community that you're serving, they will understand the risks that you are taking, and it's a shared risk. So they know if it fails, it fails. Well, we did our best. It didn't quite work out. There's not a lot of adoption. There's not success. It's not financially stable for anyone. So, okay. And this exit strategy usually comes in and it works out well. You just need to design it from the start and make sure that you're transparent enough to people know this. This is the good thing about sustainable city development. You really talk to people about this and you're really close, and it's easier than anything else. It's not like a, let's say, online tax service. If it failed, it really failed and you're screwed. Also, I can give you two quick examples, which is we started with one of the projects, a textile waste collection. So if you want to donate or you want to recycle your textiles, you go to an app, you just register, you will be given a pink bag in your household. You put your clothes there, you're telling what you are giving away, and then you put it on a bin, and you will be, you'll be able to track when was it collected, where is it now, which clothes went to donation, which clothes went to recycling. This is very important for us in case of transparency, where people do not recycle textiles because they think it's just going to any, a pile of waste or whatever. So we're trying to promote this. It went so well that now we are going to implement this in a larger scale, and we're going to invest. We started with 15 bins, and now we're going to implement 150, maybe 170 bins. We need money for that when we invest it because it's a safe investment. Then we have the opposite. The bottle deposit scheme, the single-use bottle deposit schemes, you have it in Sweden, of course, for decades now, right? Well, we haven't had it in Portugal. It's a cultural thing, don't ask. Maybe beer bottles, yeah, but not single-use. We developed together with the EEA grants from Norway, we developed the first local system, and we tested it out, and we teamed up with a local university. We made the assessment for the value of deposit and so on, and we made it local. This was during COVID. People loved it, of course. People wanted more because we created an incentive scheme, not a deposit. It was illegal to do a deposit. So an incentive, this way we managed the ecosystem, right? You had X points, you were given a free entry to a museum or a music show or whatever, these types of things. Then it went to national. Of course, we had an exit strategy. Now it's national. It started 3-4 months ago. It's a disaster because it's a half-baked recipe and not a fully developed recipe like we developed. So people are not adopting it. We were like, whoo, we're lucky that they picked this up after us. Now they're rethinking about, wait, maybe we should pick up with a local strategy. Well, too late for that. Now, good luck doing all that again. So it will take them a bit more time, and you will have to invest a lot because they didn't think of this strategy, not only the exit, but also the implementation. So I think that's it with these two examples.
Excellent. Thanks a lot. We have time for one more question. All right. Okay, so it's time to wrap up. Thanks a lot. A big round of applause for Mara and João. So we have 10 minutes between this session and the next one. So we're going to reconvene everybody here in the plenary. So don't go far away. Just at 5:10 we will be back here. Thanks a lot. All right. Good one. Well, I was 3 minutes ago.